Welcome back to Definitely Not Definitive. I'm Ken.
And I'm Bethany.
And this is every type of psychic Pokemon explained. Yeah. So this is a video that we skipped accidentally in the list. We were going off of Loxin and Noggin's playlist, and he actually has it at the end. So he put it in the wrong place. Anyways, so are you ready to do this?
I am ready.
Okay.
Let's learn about some psychics.
Mm-hmm.
Mysterious, mystical mysteries with cool cosmic control. These are mental matter manipulators. That's right. We're covering the psychic type now. Why are each of the psychic type Pokemon the psychic type? What are their origins? And which ones
crazy
really
pineapple tree
have
one?
no reasons for being psychic as far as their design goes, meaning they probably should not be psychic. Let's find out.
Ooh.
Fun.
There is no spoon.
So at first, going into the psychic type, my first train of thought was to figure out what sort of psychic type they use. For example, there's pyrokinesis, the ability to manipulate heat and fire with your mind. But in that case, there are like, what, 3 fire psychic Pokemon? Well, then there's also psychokinesis, the ability to move around objects with just the power of your mind. So, almost all of the psychic type Pokemon. So clearly, this is not the way to go about this analysis. Instead, let's just categorize the Pokemon by what their psychic powers originate from. Starting, of course, with one of the most obvious categories, Pokemon who are psychic type due to their insanely high intelligence. This is a common trope in media. Someone's brain is so smart and huge that they are capable of psychic abilities, from moving objects to mind reading, maybe even mind control. And in this category, we have Abra, Kadabra, Alakazam, Oranguru, Beldum, Metang, Metagross, Slowpoke, Slowbro, Slowking, Inkay, and Malamar. Alakazam and its previous evolutions are said to have an IQ over 5,000, which, by the way, is impossible. But anyway, this line is based on magicians as well as psychic spoon benders. The ability to bend your spoon with your mind is a classic means of displaying your mental powers. And being a monstrous mix of a goat and a fox is also fitting, as both have many ties to various magics. Another trope that Mega Alakazam falls for is the idea of an all-powerful psychic being having a weak and fragile body. The Dex mentions that it lost almost all of its muscle mass in return for more psychic power. The Metagross line are also hyper-intelligent, as they are perhaps literal supercomputers. In fact, Metagross is stated to have 4 brains even. The way these Pokemon evolve is interesting too. 2 Beldums combine and form a Metang, doubling their mental and physical power. Then 2 Metangs come together and form Metagross. I guess that's why it has 4 brains. And you would need some sort of psychic ability to have those 4 brains communicate as coordinated as they are. Now, while Inkay isn't all that intelligent itself, it is able to communicate via emitted light, which is neat. But when it evolves into Malamar, it becomes hyper-intelligent and evil, like a Power Ranger supervillain with all of its evil intentions. And similarly to plenty of villains in this trope, it also has the most compelling hypnotic powers of any Pokemon, granting it some crazy good mind control. Also, the squid inspiration may have played a part here, as both squid and octopus are very intelligent for sea creatures, just like Oranguru, minus the part about it being a sea creature. Orangurus are very intelligent animals, just like orangutans. And this one is a guru, meaning a master teacher. Its high intellect makes it smart enough to throw Pokeballs and even give commands to Pokemon too. It thinks it's people. And notably, its Dex entry states that it occasionally goes to the beaches to match its wits with Slowking. Slowking and its whole line are also very intelligent. It is said to research various things to solve the mysteries of the world, and interestingly, that being bitten by its odd-looking shoulder in the head unlocks its super intelligence through toxins. But what about its previous evolutions then? Well, this is a bit of a theory, and you can find more details about it by clicking right here, or link in the description, but Slowbro's Dex mentions that when the shoulder bites down, it becomes inspired. The theory says that both Slowpoke and Slowbro are also super intelligent, beyond anything you can even comprehend. Even beyond anything they can comprehend. They are unable to control their minds, and thus are always spaced out, perhaps through some sort of astral projection. But the pain from the bite in the tail, or the constant pain of a bite to the brain, makes it more alert and back down to earth. Again, more details here. There's even an animated bit. It's great. So when it comes to hyper-intelligence, that's about it. Now, other psychic-type Pokemon are very smart and highly intelligent as well, but not nearly as much as these ones. So, for the next category, we're going to look at Pokemon who are psychic-type due to their affinity with space. The cosmic aura. Astral
Space psychics.
projection is another psychic power after all. And plus, there is the trope of alien life being more advanced in terms of their mental powers. And the Pokemon move Cosmic Power is psychic type after all. Here in this category we have LGM, BEM, Starmie, Deoxys, Lunatone, Solrock, Cosmog, Cosmion,
Cosmog's
Solgaleo,
cool.
Lunala, and Necrozma.
So
LGM
Lunala.
and BEM communicate
Necrozma
with
sounds
flashing
scary.
lights on their bodies, which is another alien trope. And they are able to manipulate others' memories with their psychic powers. Plus, they really do just look like aliens, don't they? Their names are even spellings of the abbreviations LGM, meaning Little Green Men, and BEM, or Bug-Eyed Monster, both referring to classic mid-20th century sci-fi movies. Starmie may appear to just be a starfish, but Game Freak took it a step further and states that it may have actually come from the stars. It's an invader from outer space, and thus uses its jewel to amplify its alien mind powers. It is also able to emit enigmatic signals and radio waves, both also associated with aliens. Solrock and Lunatone are fairly simple. They are both the meteorite Pokemon, and they are rumored to come from the sun and the moon respectively. Though I'm not so sure about Solrock coming from the sun, but they do absorb the light from their respective heavenly body and use it to power their cosmic psychic abilities. And as for Deoxys, there is no doubt about it, it's an alien. It may even be a silicon-based life form, as the deck states that the jewel appears to be its brain. Plus, that would explain all of its weird form changes that it can do, and its bodily regeneration abilities. Again, these are all tropes of aliens.
Piccolo!
Necrozma may be another silicon-based life form, as it appears to be made entirely of crystal or obsidian. It absorbs light and uses it to attack like a laser gun. Plus, it's reminiscent of the Ultra Beasts, and theorized to be the first Ultra Beast to land on Earth forever ago. It goes from world to world, absorbing their light source and moving on to the next one, which sounds like a common plot to sci-fi movies regarding alien invasions. It basically is the personification of a star, or even a supernova in its ultra form, and it may also be a personification of black dwarf stars, or black holes, or even neutron stars. Either way, it's all
Doing the
about
neutron
that
dance.
dark cosmic energy, granting it its various light and psychic-based abilities.
Who was flickering the lights?
Necrozma. And the same goes for Cosmog and its evolution line. Its gaseous body is like that of a nebula, buildups of gas and dust in space. It then
That's cool
evolves
design.
into Cosmion and is dubbed the cocoon of the stars and was worshipped in ancient Alola. It may also be based on the world egg or golden fetus from various mythologies and alchemy, symbolizing new beginnings on a global scale. It can then evolve into either Solgaleo or Lunala based on its sex, one the emissary of the sun, the other the emissary of the moon. Cosmic entities with insane amounts of mysticism surrounding them. They also each have third eyes, a common depiction of those with future sight or who can astral project, or even just have psychic powers at all. Lunala has elements from Itzpapalotl, an Aztec goddess depicted as a skeletal star demon with bat wings, and being a star demon, she had plenty of odd powers that one could very easily view as being psychic. Solgaleo then is a lion. Yep.
In space.
Based on the alchemic lion
Space
eating
lion.
the sun. Not much more to add to its psychic typing beyond its cosmic powers. But isn't this alchemic lion neat? Yeah, it's way cool. Did you know that you can support this channel by buying this Solgaleo as the alchemic lion t-shirt? Awesome. Links down below. Plug, plug, plug. And for even more details on their inspirations involving alchemy, I have this video here about Solgaleo and this one about Lunala. Check them out. And with those shameless plugs out of the way, we can move on to the next category. Pokemon whose psychic abilities lie in the ancient mystical powers of the ancient mystics.
Please tell me
There
it's that
are
pineapple tree.
so many conspiracy theories regarding things like this. The disappearance of Atlantis, the Babylon Gardens. How did Egypt build those pyramids? What about the Mayans and Aztec stuff? Magic or ancient knowledge on the spiritual powers of the mind have been lost, but some bits remain today. I swear it. And these are Pokemon based on those mysterious concepts. Ancient beings with psychic powers infused into their core. In this category, we have Baltoy, Claydol, Sigilif, Natu, Xatu, Oricorio in the Pa'u style, Delphox, Latios, Latios, Solosis, Duosion, and Reuniclus. Baltoy and Claydol may be the most obvious of the bunch. They were discovered in ancient ruins from 20,000 years ago and are depicted in primitive wall paintings. They are said to have been man-made by ancient people who knew how to breathe life into them via psychic powers or some sort of mysterious ray. They are based on very mysterious
sacrifice,
statues
a human
found in
sacrifice.
Japan that were apparently made in prehistoric Japan during the Jomon period, which stretches back to 14,000 BC. And there is a lot of pseudo-archaeology surrounding them, basically meaning mystical science. Some believe souls could be trapped in these and sent to other worlds, and by that, they mean they were from other worlds, filled with souls and sent to Earth, either by aliens or interdimensional spirit beings. Hence the psychic type. Sigillif are the guardians of various ancient ruins, protecting them from invaders for eons. Based on their odd looks, they may also be man-made by ancient humans. A sigil is a man-made painted symbol with magic powers, after all. Their shape is that of the Nazca lines, ancient South American lines dug into the ground that from a bird's eye view form the shapes of various animals and a person. There is a lot of mystery surrounding these lines and their purpose. Nobody in ancient times would have been able to see them properly without some sort of flight, leading to many conspiracy theories about aliens or ancient spirit-powered tech granting them flight, or even just the ability to draw these lines in the first place. Perhaps even sending your mind's eye physically into the air to view these would be possible. Xatu has the enigmatic power of foreseeing the future. No one knows exactly how well it does it, but it is said that one eye sees the future while the other sees the past, and it spends its time meditating while staring
that's like,
directly into the sun. This
the one in
is
Warhammer
called
40K.
sun gazing, a form of meditation by the ancient Aztec and Mayan peoples. They believed
Whose name
this
I always
would grant
mispronounce.
them visions and power. Hence Xatu's psychic typing. It and Natu resemble totems, particularly of the Americas. Totems were a major part of the religions and myths of ancient peoples all over the world, and they also appear to be based on Kachina dolls, which also played a part. Now, while these days hula dancing is more just for entertainment, there was once a time where it was more ceremonial and prayer-related, asking for assistance from the gods and spirits for various things. This is where Oricorio's Pa'u style comes in, a bird dancing like a hula dancer, and its dex entry states that its dance is meditative and increases its psychic energy. Delphox is based on a witch or a wizard, hence the magic wand it uses to cast fireball with its pyrokinesis abilities. While not particularly ancient, witches and wizards were a big deal in the Middle Ages. In Japan, witches were said to inherit their powers from fox yokai, kitsunes. Delphox is also able to prophesy about the future, and that, along with its name, points us to the Delphic
Prophesy.
oracles of ancient
Never heard
Greece,
that word
who
before.
were said to receive visions of the future from the gods. Latias and Latios can sense the emotions of people and Pokemon and communicate via telepathy. And considering that they can fly despite not actually flapping their wings and they just kind of levitate and they're like jets but not birds, clearly they're using their psychic powers to fly. But what are they based on? Well, that's a tough one, because they are quite the unique Pokemon. The closest thing would be Anthroplanes, I suppose. But what gets really interesting is their ancient inspiration regarding what they do as opposed to what they look like. The Aeons from Gnosticism or Gnostic alchemy are similar in aspect, and that would explain their category as the Eon Pokemon in the Pokedex. Long story short, Aeons were spiritual or spiritually empowered beings in pairs, a male and a female, that were emanated from God, thus have powerful spiritual and psychic powers. And the Reuniclus line are based on cells going through cell division, or
Okay.
possibly an embryo. Their psychic power
See, that one looks like
amplifies as they
in like a
develop
Jello
multiple
frog.
brains via evolution. Reuniclus may also pull from the idea of the homunculus from Middle-Age alchemy. The idea was that inside each sperm, there is a fully grown, tiny person, rich with divine spiritual ability, the power of creation and life. And when combined with an egg, it forms the embryo and then a fetus and all that fun stuff. Birds and the bees. This points to the very early embryo look this line has, and that rich divine ability, along with its multiple brains, makes this line psychic type. And speaking of the divine, clearly high spiritual beings and powerful deities would have powerful psychic powers, or at least a lot of them would. Arceus learns plenty of psychic type moves after all, and I'm sure if not for its gameplay gimmick, it would be psychic type 2 mainly. But plenty other high spiritual beings in Pokemon are psychic type, such as Mew, Mewtwo, Uxie, Mesprit, Azelf, Cresselia, Lugia, Tapu Lele, and Unknown.
Tapu Lele?
Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf were some of Arceus's first creations, and with them, humans humans gained 3 abilities: knowledge, emotion, and willpower. All mental abilities. Considering that these 3 Pokemon reign over and created them, their psychic typing makes perfect sense. Mew is also among Arceus' first creations, and it is
biting his
the
own tail?
ancestor to all Pokemon on Earth, save a few. Thus, it looking like an embryo of a generic vertebrate makes sense. It's capable of flying through space and turning invisible thanks to its immense psychic power, and it seems that it has this power simply because of its heavenly origin. Mewtwo, then, is just the same. After all, it's just humans' attempt at cloning Mew. Thus, it's psychic type because Mew is psychic type. Unknown are especially interesting, as they may have existed before even Arceus, or perhaps they are an extended part of Arceus. They hold the fabric of reality together and can change it. These are powers reserved for only the highest of gods, after all. Though individually they are helpless, as a single letter tells no tale, but in mass quantities they are ever important, eternal, using their psychic powers to hold together our dimension. And then there is Tapu Lele. Each of the Tapus are based on one of the 4 main Hawaiian deities, and Tapu Lele is based on the highest of them, Kane, the great creator.
Kane looks a
To
lot
have
scarier than
such
Tapu Lele.
immense creation power, you must be psychic, which is a similar reasoning for Lugia, minus the creation part. Lugia is the guardian of the sea
Lugia?
and the ocean currents,
Lugia?
yet it isn't water type, but psychic instead? Curiously though, it only learns 3 psychic moves and 2 water moves, but it has so much more to do with water aesthetically and with the lore. Some have said it's based on Ryujin, the dragon god of the sea in Japanese mythology, though it doesn't look like that at all. But at least with that origin, it's a god of some sort, so having psychic powers works well. I don't know really though, it's kind of a weak reason, but okay, it's fine. If it was water type, it'd clearly be the best legendary to have back in Gen 2, because the other one is Ho-Oh and it's fire type. That'd just not be fair. And then the Gen 3 legendaries happened, and apparently Game Freak doesn't actually care about that. Cresselia, though, has a much better reason. It represents the crescent moon and grants people good dreams. Dream powers of any sorts is certainly a form of psychic ability. Which brings us to the next category. Pokemon who are psychic as they are based on lesser spirits, or yokai, or just are psychic-esque beings with their abilities. I don't know. Not the grandiose,
tough to have.
all-high beings we've been dealing with, but lesser spirits. And now's a good time to make another
Comprehensive title
distinction.
for this one,
Most Pokemon based on yokai or spirits are ghost type, but in this case, rather than making just a bunch of more ghosts, Game Freak took the abilities from yokai and applied them to regular animals, making them psychic type. Pokemon in this category are Bronzor, Bronzong, Smoochum, Jinx,
Smoochum.
Meko, Drowsy,
Oh, that's amazing.
Luna, Masharna, Esper,
That's like the
Meowstic,
dancing hippo.
Espeon, and Hoopa. And since we just
Espeon.
ended the last category with a dreamy Pokemon, let's look at Munna and Masharna first. Both of these Pokemon power their psychic powers by eating dreams, which
like a little
in
piggy
itself
bank.
is a
That's why
psychic
it's
ability. It's essentially reading the minds of sleeping people and Pokemon and sucking up the mental energy of dream generation for themselves. Rude. Also, they may be based on essential oil diffusers, little tools that, and this is a little bit into pseudoscience, are said to grant you good dreams if you turn them on while you sleep. And notice how both Munna and Masharna look kind of like Drowsy, and Drowsy does the exact same thing, minus the oil diffusing part. But they're all dream eaters. Game Freak, get creative, come on. Well, it's because all of them are based on the tapir. Drowsy mainly, it's the little snoot thing. In Japanese mythology, there's this yokai dream eater named Baku, and Baku is also the Japanese word for tapir. So the connection was easy. 3 dream-eating tapirs. And then Hypno also eats dreams, but it's a goblin. It's not a tapir anymore. Also, just in case you don't know, Hypno uses hypnosis, which is a psychic thing. Alright? Just gotta clear that up. Not a lot of people understand that. Jinx is based on the Yama-Uba, a female ice yokai described as having white blonde hair, a red tattered Komodo, large lips, and dark-colored skin. That's pretty obvious. And Yama-Uba cares for a child spirit named Kintaro, which has pink skin. Well, that was easy. And on top of the ice abilities of said yokai, she is also said to be able to cause illusions, which could be seen as a ghostly ability, but you can create illusions in other ways than just having ghost powers, such as manipulating someone's mind with psychic powers to believe that they are seeing something that isn't there. Chingling and Chimeko are based on the bells and chimes around Shinto temples and other such buildings. The Fuden, the wind chimes Chimekos are said to be able to predict the future, specifically things like natural disasters disasters, and they are also able to ward off evil spirits. And you can't exactly ward off an evil spirit without knowing that it's there, and those with psychic abilities are said to be able to detect spirits. Other inanimate objects, Bronzor and Bronzong, are based not on a specific spirit or yokai, but on a similarly mythical Japanese tale of a woman who did not want to give up her bronze mirror to be melted down and made into a bell. This led to her killing herself. Drastic. And it was said
Dark.
that whoever could strike the bell hard enough to break it would become rich. So, that doesn't really explain anything, but it's a good origin story. Doesn't really explain the psychic type.
Yeah,
at
so why aren't they
all.
in the
Good
why
job,
is it
origin
psychic?
story. While that tale does better explain its steel typing because it's bronze, and I forgot to mention these Pokemon in the steel type video because I'm a dingus. Other aspects of this Pokemon do point to its psychic ability. First of all, it levitates, and its face and shape and color resembles the Aztec god Tlaloc, who was a rain deity. This is notable because Bronzong is said to open portals which causes rain to fall, so it's some sort of spirit portal power that it has, thus psychic type. And speaking of portals, Hoopa. This guy opens portals with its rings and travels
like the Ringer.
across the universe. It's
Marvel
also a
Universe.
trickster, using its psychic powers to get into all sorts of mischief. It's based on djinns,
Shower
and has
curtain man.
various design elements from demons, which points to all of its typings. Bound is psychic ghost, and unbound is psychic dark. Esper, Meowstic, and Espeon, no relation, are psychic cats. ESP in Esper and Espeon stands for
Espeon, that's cool.
extrasensory
Cool,
perception, which is basically the scientific term for being psychic. And this is, in my opinion, the funnest fact in this video. Just like these Pokemon, the yokai Nekomata is a cat that stands on its hind legs and sometimes wears handkerchiefs on their heads, like Meowstic. These yokai are said to start out as ordinary cats who live many, many years until eventually its tail splits into lengthwise and it gains supernatural psychic powers. Similarly, Meowstic has two tails, and Espeon's tail has a split on the end. And now we reach the final category before we reach the not psychic ones. This category are the classically psychic Pokemon. Pokemon based on actual psychics or psychic aspects. A few previous Pokemon would fit here too, like the Abra line and Hypno, but they fit into those other categories better. We start with the Meditators. Meditite, Medicham, and Darmanitan in Zen mode. While normally
In Zen
a
mode.
physically powerful orangutan, when weakened it turns its body into stone and meditates to fight mentally with psychic power. It's based on Daruma dolls and the meditation style of Bodhidharma. Meditite and Medicham are based on the concepts of Central Asian monks. They highly train both the spirit, body, and mind. And as history went on,
It
it
makes sense that
eventually
there's
started
different
reaching the
meditation
Middle
types, but I didn't
East.
even
It
think
also
about
has
that.
aspects from belly dancers because same region, I guess? That's more so a fighting type thing. Gothita, Gotharita, and Gothitelle are based on
Gotharita.
girls, but not the ones who are in it for just the looks. The very nice looks. Rather, the ones who are super into the occult. When they are young, they use their psychic powers to see things that only they can see. Whatever that means. They then start looking to the stars and use float stones to mark their positions. They also take over the minds of sleeping children to pretend they have friends. Then, as adults, they get way into horoscopes and astrology. They can use their psychic powers to see stars that are significantly further than the ones we can see, and they use those to help them predict the future. The Pokedex also points out that it can see the future moment when its trainer dies, and then it cries in sadness. Oh, goths. Am I right? Now, the pop star Meloetta is mainly just a singer, but she has a few psychic powers as well and can use them along with her songs to control people's emotions, which really music can kind of do by itself to a point, but I guess being psychic exemplifies that. After all, according to the Dex, its melodies are sung with a special vocalization method that can control the feelings of those who hear it. And interestingly, binaural beats and alpha waves and such are specific wavelengths of sound that are said to be able to affect your brain in various ways, such as making it easier to remember things or to lighten your mood. So she may be a reference to that. Mime Jr. and Mr. Mime are just mimes, which aren't super psychic or anything like that, but the idea here is that this Pokemon does the whole mime thing with the invisible wall, but it has psychic power so it can make the wall actually be there. And those last few were kind of weak, admittedly, I think. I don't know. But they bring us to our final category, the Pokemon that do not have the best reasons for being psychic type. There's no real origin reason. They are more so just psychic for the sake of adding more psychic type Pokemon. Or, in the case of Jirachi, Celebi, and Victini, it's just a matter of timing. Before the fairy type
poor
was
guy.
introduced, psychic
He's not
was
really
the big
psychic,
type
and he's
for
not really
legendaries to
fire or
be.
whatever.
And the only reason these Pokemon are
He's got it
fairy
rough.
is because
Guys
the
again
fairy
left.
type didn't exist
Yeah.
when they were
He
made.
was fun.
Celebi is literally the onion fairy Pokemon that rules over nature, which is a very fairy thing. But it also has time
onion
powers,
fairy?
so I guess psychic is still okay. But fairy would fit better. Jirachi is also magical and can grant wishes. Very fairy-esque, like fairy tales. And Victini just looks like a fairy, okay? A lot more than Grand Bull. But as for non-fairy Pokemon that don't have the best reasons for being psychic type, well, take Execute and Executor for example.
Yes!
The OG
Finally.
non-Alolan variant, the oddball that it is. While based on a coconut tree, it's also based
Okay,
on
it's
the
a coconut
Jimenju,
tree.
a mythical tree said
Makes
to
more
grow
sense.
smiling human heads as fruit. Odd. So odd. And as far as origins go, that's it. Doesn't really point to it being psychic type at all. They do utilize their psychic
They look
ability,
crazy.
though. All the heads can easily communicate
Drunken
with each
high as
other
well.
that way.
Yes.
Same with Execute, the little tree seeds. Ralts, Kirlia, and Gardevoir are ballet dancers, as well as Anisama Ningyu, thin paper dolls with large round heads. And Gallade is a prince with a Corinthian helmet. Now, nothing in those origins really point to them needing to be psychic type. Save a few examples of those dolls getting possessed, I suppose, but that's more of a ghostly thing than anything. And then again, this particular line of Pokemon are very original Pokemon, so they can be whatever, I suppose. Gardevoir specifically has some crazy psychic powers, and it's able to create small black holes by compressing space with its mind. So clearly psychic type, but doesn't really have a reason to be in its origins. Bruxish is a reef triggerfish, also known as the Humu Humu Nuku Nuku Apua'a, a fish that lives in the reefs of
So
Hawaii.
cool.
Its coloring is quite psychedelic, but other than that, there's no real reason for it to be psychic type. Well, you just look at psychedelic colors and you immediately think, oh, psychic type fish. Yeah. And when it comes to Alolan Raichu,
Aw.
the official website's description states, even Pokemon researchers don't know why Raichu's form changed in the Alola region. The people of Alola seem unconcerned by the question. Their guess, maybe it ate too many sweet and fluffy round pancakes. Huh. I'll just
Sure.
leave it at that. I assume it's psychic type just so that I can float around on its tail and be like that surfing Pikachu from that one episode. Giraffarig, interestingly, as we learned in the Gold and Silver beta, was originally going to evolve from twin ghosts and be dark normal type. But ultimately, they removed this first stage, and they removed the second head being a whole other giraffe. Also, they changed its dark typing into psychic. But why psychic? Do giraffes have anything inherently psychical about them? No. But
Yeah.
interestingly, there's somewhat a good reason for it to be psychic type. I just didn't want to give Giraffarig its own category of it's psychic type because of a pun. Much like how Giraffarig's name in English is a palindrome, meaning it's read the same backwards as it is forwards, its Japanese name is Kirinriki, which when written out in Japanese looks like this. Again, a palindrome. And apparently this palindrome directly translates into giraffe telekinesis. No. I love puns.
That's pretty clever.
But outside of wordplay, there's no need for this giraffe to be psychic type. Hence why it originally was not, I suppose. Stinking giraffe telekinesis is a palindrome in Japanese. There's a fun fact for you. Spoink and Grumpig are also just sort of
Boink!
pigs with psychic powers.
Boink!
They use pearls as
Look at him
magic
just
orbs, which
jumping
are common
away.
tools
Might
used
be the
by
best
wizards.
name ever.
And being pearls may be a reference to the Bible passage turned common saying found at Matthew 7:6. Neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you. The pearls in the passage represent wisdom given to an audience who would not appreciate the teachings. So these pearls of wisdom may be granting these pigs psychic powers? I guess. It's Kind of a stretch though, but it's certainly a better reason than Woobet and Swoobet, who have no reason for being psychic type, almost at all. They learn plenty of psychic moves like Heart Stamp, which is a move made specifically for this Pokemon, though other Pokemon can learn it now too. And this move was made psychic type for some reason? How the move is performed is the Pokemon will act all cute, making the opponent less wary, and then they come in and just stamp it, and it causes flinching. But I mean, like, the move Attract is basically soft-core mind control, and it's just normal type. The closest reason I can come up with is, well, maybe love is just a very powerful magic. Maybe it's the whole thing about bats using supersonic waves to communicate and see in complete darkness, and that's kinda similar to psychic abilities. But still, very weak reasonings. These Pokemon should not be psychic type, other than to have more psychic type Pokemon, I guess. And lastly, Wynot and Wobbuffet. Now, their whole gimmick is that they can only learn 4 moves. These 4, only one of them is psychic type. And if you were to describe Wobbuffet to me, and I had no prior knowledge about it, you'd say that it's like a punching bag Pokemon that can only counterattack because when you hit it, it bounces back harder. To me, that sounds like it's either fighting or normal type. Normal especially. Well, it's also based on the Okigari Koboshi, a Japanese doll that when pushed over will get back up. It's a good luck charm that symbolizes perseverance. Alright. Alright. Well, maybe it's psychic type because that one psychic move it has, Mirror Coat, is just like very psychic inspired. You'd have to be psychic type to use it at all. Well, no, because there are 16 Pokemon that learn it, and only 3 of them are psychic type. And 2 of the 3 are Wynot and Wobbuffet. Is it a game balancing thing? Maybe so that it has more weaknesses than if it were a normal type? But do those weaknesses make sense? I mean, being psychic type means it resists fighting, for one, which makes sense since it's a punch bag. It can take punches for days and not really have any issue. But it's also weak to dark because when being hit by an evil sideswipe or something, it can't fight back as well because it bounces back in a different direction. It also can't fight back against ghosts as easily because it phases through them, and like it's weak to bugs because
brain's
they're
gonna
too
explode.
small to bounce back and hit. Bugs just dodge it. Those are all dumb. Now, if it were normal, it'd be weak to fighting, which, given my previous explanation, may not make that much sense. But if you think about it more, fighting-type Pokemon would be masters at beating up punching bags because of all their training against punching bags. You know how many punching bags these Pokemon probably go through? Machamp can launch things clear across the horizon and punch thousands of times per second. How many punching bags do they go through? Plus, all that punching bag training means when they punch the punching bag, they know exactly how to dodge it when it bounces back, like Wobbuffet, because there's plenty of punching bags that actually do that. They would be masters against a Wobbuffet. And then being immune to ghost
Make a good
makes sense
point.
too, because like, if a ghost tries to hit a punching bag, like they just phase through it because a punching bag is just normal, it's just a thing. It doesn't get knocked back at all, so you can't really counter that, and like it can't get hit either. I don't know. So again, I think normal makes so much more sense for Wobbuffet and Wynot, at least a lot more than psychic, unless you take into account an old theory of mine that there's a link to right here. More plugs, but long story short, leaving out the fine details, Wynot is secretly an unknown gone rogue. And all of this typing
little tale.
nonsense only backs up that theory even more. The rest of the evidence is in that video. I recommend it. So, now then, that's all of the Psychic-type Pokemon. The masters of mental manipulation have been explained. What type should I cover next?
Spoink, MVP, best name, and just kept bouncing like Spoink.
I couldn't agree more. Like, he just looks so happy there. Just bouncing.
Mhm. And the goth ones, I don't know why I like them so much, but you know, I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is.
Mystery.
Yeah, but that one I was paying attention a lot during.
I imagine you were. I liked the little one that was like grants wishes, and he was yellow with like the little blue things in the wings. I just thought he looked cool.
I thought this was just a fun video. Laxton and Noggin seemed to like have I don't know, very playful in this one. I felt so. I mean, like usually playful in his videos, but this one I felt like even more so.
Yeah, I felt like he had fun with this one
Yeah.
a lot. Made some good arguments for why certain ones maybe shouldn't be in the psychic. It felt like the evidence was maybe a bit weak for like the punching bag one.
Well, he was very passionate about the punching bag one. Like he like really like sometimes he'll just say like, you know, why he think it's like, I think they should be more in water. I think they should be more in fire, and like give like one or two sentences. But this one, like he went really dove into it.
But he made a good case for it. I mean, it does
Yeah.
feel a bit odd that they would be psychic type.
Yeah. And then the giraffe one, like, I mean, to be able to like do the research on that and figure out what like the palindrome back and forth and like, okay, this is actually like a pun, and like, you know, for the creators even to make him a psychic for the pun, to be like, all right, there's gonna be like what, like 5 people out there that probably get this pun.
Yeah, I do appreciate the research that he puts into it and that the creators put into the development of it, because you can tell there's a definite large amount of thought put into these characters.
Yeah, exactly. Mewtwo is the only one that I knew going into this. So it's another one that stuck out, obviously. And then I wasn't a pineapple. I think it was just because, I don't know, it just looked like the tree itself looked like a pineapple. And so that's why I was thinking they're pineapples. But yeah, coconut tree makes more sense.
I mean, the like shorter, fatter version, I can see where you're getting pineapple there.
Yeah. But they look drunk and high, and like I couldn't wait to get to them.
But the seeds looked really angry.
Yeah, they did.
Like they're teenage level, they're drunk and high, but they're like kid level, they're angry little seeds.
Mm-hmm. I thought going into this that psychic type would be one of my favorites. I think fire type's still my favorite.
Water type is still my favorite, but I very much enjoyed the psychic type.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know if I enjoyed it more than ghost type though.
Yeah,
like those are similar, and the ghost types are fun.
Let us know some of your favorites down below in the comments, and check back with us next Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time for another video of Pokemon Explained. And if you want early access for all those videos, you can hit our little join button down below and join our YouTube membership, or you can do it over on Patreon and get access to both of our channels that way.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for watching every psychic type Pokemon Explained, but just keep in mind
that our reaction is definitely not definitive.